Fresno police are investigating a shooting that left a 22-year-old woman dead Friday night. Detectives say her 2-year-old son pulled the trigger after a gun was left in her bedroom. Action News reporter Brianna Willis joins us live from police headquarters downtown with who could face charges and the important safety message after this tragic incident. Brianna.
Well, Delia, that mother has been identified as Yesenia Mina. Her family tells me she was a beautiful soul who touched the lives of everyone around her. Now, investigators say it was actually her boyfriend's gun that the young toddler fired, and the boyfriend was arrested. And now officers are reminding everyone to safely store your firearm. Heartbreak during the holidays. Investigators say 22-year-old Yesenia Mina died Friday night in Northeast Fresno because of an accidental shooting.
This is a very tragic and a very much preventable and avoidable incident.
Mina's boyfriend, 18-year-old Andrew Sanchez, allegedly had a gun in their apartment. She had 2 children, an 8-month-old girl and a 2-year-old son.
The firearm was stored in a location where the toddler accessed the firearm, and then at some point in time while handling that particular weapon, the toddler was able to manipulate the trigger, and it actually struck Mina as she was lying in bed.
Mina's sister telling Action News in a statement in part, quote, "She was in the process of going back to cosmetology school and finishing her career. She was loving, caring, and always gave selflessly away whenever she had the opportunity. Now because of her boyfriend's carelessness, his arrogance, his irresponsibility, and neglecting the request of my sister's wishes of never having a gun in her house, she's gone forever," end quote. Police say Sanchez was arrested for negligent storage of a firearm and felony child endangerment, but he has since spelled out, adding he has no criminal history.
I can't imagine.
Heartbreaking development in an already tragic story. Police arrest a father accused in the shooting death of his 9-year-old son. The boy was just playing outside his grandparents' Compton home on Saturday night when he was shot and killed.
KTLA's Carlos Saucedo live in downtown LA with the latest. Carlos.
Yeah, such a sad story. The 9-year-old boy was spending the holiday weekend with his father. Tonight, he's behind bars facing child abuse and murder charges. This as neighbors in Compton gathered for a prayer vigil. Heart-stricken residents of this Compton neighborhood gathered Monday afternoon to recite the rosary in Spanish, praying for a young life taken too soon.
I'm sick, I'm sad.
9-year-old Princeton Jones was shot and killed outside his grandfather's house Saturday evening in the 15,000 block of Haskins Avenue. His biological father, 32-year-old Nicholas Jones, was arrested on charges of murder and child abuse.
I know that on the weekends he would go with his dad.
Alondra Delgado was one of Princeton's special needs teachers in kindergarten through 2nd grade. The 9-year-old had autism.
He was smart. His mom was educated. She was going to school to work with kids like him.
But Alondra says while she never saw signs of physical abuse, she and other teachers noticed patterns of neglect.
He looked like he hadn't been bathed for a while sometimes, and just things like that where you could tell that he was going through something.
Authorities have not released specifics on Princeton's death, but his sudden passing leaves a deep void for classmates at Long Beach Unified.
I'm sure the kids who were with him since kindergarten, like me, that have been in his class, because those kids stick together, they're going to be missing him every single day.
Mother is grieving after a Thanksgiving trip to visit loved ones in New Orleans ended with her 3-year-old son dead. Rudy Ratliff was killed in what appears to have been an accidental shooting. His mother is sharing what happened with Amanda Henderson tonight. Amanda?
Well, that loved one they were visiting is now charged with negligent homicide in relation to Rudy's death, and his mother just tells me tonight she can't believe any of this happened. These pictures are all LaShawn Ratliff has left of her son, Rudy Ratliff.
My life changed like that. My whole life changed like that.
Through tears, LaShawn talks about losing her 3-year-old son this past weekend, the toddler dying from a gunshot wound while the Cyprus-based family was visiting a close family friend in New Orleans, Tatisha Refuge.
She's like a stepmom to me, and she's like a grandparent to my kids.
LaShawn, her boyfriend, and oldest son were playing a game of Uno in Refuge's home when they heard a pop.
I see Rudy, and then I see he has a hole right here, and I start seeing blood come out of the hole.
New Orleans police say the toddler found a gun in Refuge's home and accidentally shot himself. LaShawn disagrees.
My son didn't kill himself. My son didn't find a gun. He had no idea a gun was in the house.
She says Refuge had the gun on her.
She told my mother that the gun fell off her hip and shot my son.
Refuge turned herself into New Orleans police yesterday. She now faces a charge of negligent homicide. Officials say there will be additional charges.
My son is dead. He's not coming back. And somebody needs to be held accountable.
LaShawn says as they push for accountability, she hopes people will remember her son as the light he always was.
He was a beautiful soul.
Say it happened at an apartment complex in DeKalb County. Police have not identified the victims. A family member says all the victims were related. Tonight, Fox 5 speaks with that family member, and she is looking for answers.
It's devastating, really.
Chanel Carter can't believe it.
It's like a big hit on the family.
Her mom, sister, niece, and nephew all dead.
I'll never be able to talk to her or laugh at her again, or be able to, talk to my mom or laugh with my mom again, or hug any of them.
The bodies of her mom, Molly Johnson, her sister, Kaylin Samuel, along with niece, 5-year-old Jador Powell, and her 1-year-old nephew, John Tay Powell Jr., found inside an apartment at the Vineyards of Flat Shoals.
I kind of thought something was wrong.
Carter says she last saw her mom last week at the hospital.
I was able to tell her I love her, and she told me she loved me.
She texted her mom early last week about going to the grocery store. Her mom never texted back.
The next 2 days, she wasn't responding to me.
She called police to do a wellness check on Saturday night. She went to the house as well, then made a grisly discovery.
I flashed my own light in the back window, and that's when I seen a body on the floor and a baby's foot on the bed.
They'd all suffered gunshot wounds. Police called the incident a murder-suicide. Carter says her family did not find out for days her loved ones were all gone.
They were in the house for 5 days, dead.
U.S. Marshal Service is now offering a $5,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest of a murder suspect. Investigators say 29-year-old Giovanni Otero is accused of killing his girlfriend last month. Her body found in a shallow grave in a park in Fox Chase. It is Monday night. Shari's off. Sarah Bloomquist is joining us. And the big story in Action News is the urgent effort to track down a dangerous suspect in Philadelphia.
The U.S. Marshals say he is the most wanted man in the city right now. Action News reporter Sharifa Jackson is live at police headquarters with the full details. Sharifa.
Sarah, Rick, authorities say they were already trying to talk to Otero for weeks, but when the medical examiner ruled the victim's death a homicide, his charges were then upgraded to murder. It's been an excruciating month for the family of 29-year-old Melody Rivera. They now walk around with these pins and this poster.
She's laid to rest, but closure is still not there.
That's because Melody's ex-boyfriend, 29-year-old Giovanni Otero, who was once a person of interest, is now officially charged with killing her. Melody was found bludgeoned to death in a shallow grave in a Fox Chase Park November 8th. Weeks later, Otero is still on the run.
She didn't deserve this, especially by someone who supposedly loved her.
I'm traumatized about what happened to my daughter.
The motive is still unclear, but authorities say Otero has an extensive criminal history dating back to the age of 12. Records show he was recently released from state prison for a firearms offense. Investigators say after the murder of Melody, he stopped reporting to his parole officer.
We're considering him the most wanted person in the city now.
U.S. Marshals are offering a $5,000 reward for Giovanni's capture, who they say is also known as G in Gosier. They released this flyer Monday morning with an updated photo highlighting his tattoos.
It's not a matter of if we're going to catch him, it's a matter of when. The family.
A neighbor's Ring camera captured video of the most recent incident over the weekend. Before we go any further, we do want to warn you this story might be disturbing to watch.
Fox 5's Joy Dukes joins us now with more. Joy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Russ Courtney, a disturbing incident it was. Neighbors tell us that man followed a female resident up the stairs here early Saturday evening, then stood in the breezeway, pleasuring himself in front of her door. As she tells us, it isn't the first time she's seen him do it.
You started at the bottom of the steps,
but now you literally found your way in front of my doorstep.
This woman, who did not want to be identified, says seconds before a doorbell camera captured this video on the evening of November 16th, she was walking into her home. DeKalb County Police say the man seen in that video from Saturday is wanted for indecent exposure.
I was really just disturbed.
A disturbing discovery her neighbor made during a routine check of the Ring camera that was initially put up to monitor package thefts from her home at Belle Vista Apartments in Lithonia.
I started having Amazon packages stolen.
That neighbor tells Fox 5 she was stunned to find a man instead touching himself in the hallway.
I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. I was like, what is this? And I saw him coming up behind her, so I kind of put two and two together that maybe he was following her.
Even more upsetting, she says, learning her neighbor had seen him do it in real time months prior. DeKalb County Police tell Fox 5 the woman reported a similar incident back in June.
I was going back up the stairs and he was just standing out exposed.
She's one of 3 women in the complex who've come forward so far.
It's very scary, to say the least, because you don't know where he's coming from. We don't know if he stays in this neighborhood, if he's walking into this neighborhood.
While it's unclear where he lives, both women say they're hopeful police will take swift action in bringing him into custody.
It's scary, not just for women, but right up here at the mailboxes, we have little kids that's standing waiting for the school bus, and it's still dark out here. So I fear for their safety too.
And Russ Courtney, DeKalb County Police say they are using video footage as a part of their investigation, and they're urging anyone with information to reach out to them. You can submit an anonymous tip using their new smartphone app, or you can text this number.
Slack killed his caretaker. WRG's Shay Arthur brings us the latest tonight in the investigation.
Tonight, as detectives work to piece together this case, those we talked to who knew those involved say they're left stunned and devastated by this shooting.
I think it's just very sad, the whole situation.
A dreary, gray day fits the somber mood at this Oxford apartment complex. People who live here say 89-year-old Herman Slack, now charged with first-degree murder, managed the complex. He's accused of shooting and killing his caretaker, 53-year-old Angela Cohen James. These women are familiar with James, telling me they're heartbroken by the news of her death.
You don't find too many 89-year-olds doing things like that.
So when you hear something like that, or when you see something like that, it's kind of odd.
Oxford. New information about the woman who was found dead on the side of I-95 in northeast Miami-Dade. Take a look at your screens right now. These are pictures of that victim. Thanks so much for being with us here at 6:30. I'm Chelsea Jones. CBS News Miami's Nikaya Carrero is joining us live from northeast Miami-Dade with more about what we know about that woman. Nikaya.
Chelsea, we now know that woman's name is Naomi Sintanidi, and she was only 22 years old. Naomi was found dead and naked Saturday morning. Multiple 911 calls were made about a man and woman fighting next to a car on the side of the busy highway near the Ives Dairy Road exit. When Florida Highway Patrol arrived, that's when they discovered her body with a piece of clothing laying next to her. Hours later, she was discovered. Police began chasing a vehicle suspected to be involved in a homicide. The crash ended on Miramar Parkway and Northwest 57th Avenue, Red Road. This man, Laurent Jr. Pion, was arrested in that chase. Miami-Dade Police Department told us at this time they cannot confirm if it's connected to this case. Naomi had one child. Her birthday would have been at the end of this month on the 29th. We are still working to learn what led to the young mother being slain and dumped on the side of the busy highway. In northwest Miami-Dade, Nikaya Carrero.
Development. Months after that woman's disappearance, we now know her husband is officially facing a murder charge. And as you mentioned, this all began this summer, and we want to take you back. Let's go to video. Take a look at this. Now, our cameras were there and rolling as Naresh Bhatt was taken away in handcuffs. He was initially charged with concealing his wife's body, but months later, those charges now upgraded to murder and defiling a dead body. Now, Monta Kafle Bot, last seen July 29th, and not long after, prosecutors say surveillance cameras captured her husband, Naresh Bot, throwing away large trash bags around Northern Virginia, including the parking lot of his babysitter's apartment and a trash compactor in Falls Church. Now, investigators say they discovered a gruesome crime scene as they were trying to piece together what happened. Moments ago, the chief of police saying they believe Kafle Bot was murdered and dismembered inside of their home. The DNA coming back as a match, and detectives presenting that evidence to a grand jury today. Now, moments ago, the chief laying out exactly what led to those additional charges.
A popular catering business in Atlanta says a disgruntled employee held him and his staff at gunpoint. Now the woman is behind bars facing charges. Fox 5's Joy Dukes is live with more on that story. Joy.
Yeah, Chris, I can tell you tense moments unfolded here at Tim Morgan's catering business on Chattahoochee Avenue. The self-made chef telling us that many of his staff members are still shaken after a former co-worker of theirs showed up here, walked inside the building you see behind me, and pointed a gun at them. Now, Morgan tells us that that former employee was apparently terminated just a day before for not showing up for an event that she was scheduled to work. Now, he says he notified her that her contract had been terminated, that she needed to turn in her uniform and her keys earlier that day, but she didn't know, she didn't show up until later in the evening. He says that that's when things took a turn for the left, and despite being asked to leave, she pulled out a pistol.
I heard being terminated. She had the keys to the building. She came into the building and she was dressed for the part. She had a hoodie, she had on sweatpants and tennis shoes, and she had a pistol in her waist. Her intention was to kill.